This is our fourth lesson in Chapter 5, and we're going to look at the double angle formula. But first of all, for the warm-up, we're going to look at some sum of differences. Now, you can check your answer on the calculator. Whatever you've got, type in cosine 105 and hit equals, and you should end up with that same answer. If you could think of two numbers that worked, certainly 60 and 45 would work for this question, and for this question, 225 and 60 would work. I could also use, I guess, 315 minus 30 as well, if you're looking to do a difference formula. And it asks you just to confirm the last part, so just check that that's actually true. So specifically today, we are going to use that double angle formula, just to make sure that our rules actually work. Once again, all these formulas are on the formula sheet. I've put a box around the most important ones, but notice for cosine there are three different formulas. And the reason there's three different formulas is we can actually rearrange these formulas as well. So we also know that sine squared, for example, is 1 minus cosine squared. Using a rearrangement of sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. And then cosine squared take away negative cosine squared would be 2 cosine squared. And the bottom formula comes if you rearrange cosine squared as 1 minus sine squared theta. So you only really need to remember one of them, and then you should be able to find the other ones anyway. All three of these versions are on the formula sheet anyway, so you just need to refer to those when appropriate. So, show that cosine 120 is negative 1/2. Notice it says by a double angle formula, so if you use any other method, you're going to get 0 even if you get the correct answer. So the thing for this one is, we've got to figure out 2 times which angle is 120. So obviously for this question, it's just going to be 60. Now we have a formula for cosine 2x as well. Cosine squared minus sine squared. And remember what that actually means is you do cosine x and then square it, and this means sine x and then you square it. So x is 60 because 2 times 60 was 120, so we substitute that in. We can then use our calculators to find out what cosine 60 is, and also what sine 60 is, and then if we square top and bottom, this should give us 1/4, this should give us 3/4, and then when you subtract them, you do end up with negative 1/2. So really a lot of substitution for this question, but also the advantage of having the calculator that does the special values for us is going to be immense for this chapter. Now we can also do some solving of equations with this one. This one's a little more complicated. So if cosine 2x equals 3/4, find exact values for sine x and cosine x. Now notice it doesn't say find the values for x. If it is, then we could use the formula we did last time. We could do like the u sub, like u equal 2x and solve. So this one's a little more complicated than that. So first of all, I'm going to do my substitution. So what is cosine 2x? Well, one of my identities was 1 minus 2 sine squared x. Now, why did I choose this one? Well, it's in terms of sine, and that's actually what we're trying to solve in this question. We're trying to find what sine x is. Now, if I rearrange this, and I can also divide both sides by the negative, and I could also divide both sides by 2, then I should be able to solve this problem here. If I do the square root of both sides, sine x equals, remember there's 2 answers for the square root there, there's the positive and the negative, and also you should be able to rationalise this as well. Then we've actually solved for sine x. Notice we're not solving for x again, we're just solving for sine x. Now the second part of the question I didn't do, but if we want to find for cosine x, then we need a formula that involves cosine x that has cosine 2x, for cosine 2x. So if we go back to the original sheet, we should see it's 2 cosine squared x minus 1. And then the same thing, you should be able to rearrange that, just like we did for sine squared, and you should be able to come up with your 2 answers. So really this is building on a lot of skills from previous lessons. You don't need to remember those formulas again, you just need to know where they're located, so you can actually answer the questions.